So our project for this chapter is going to be an HTML5 based blog, and obviously we can't have dynamic functions like adding a post. We can't have any back-end functions because we're only going to be dealing with HTML, with CSS, and maybe a little bit of JavaScript. Alright, so I wanted to start out with an easy project that focused mainly on HTML5. As we've talked about before, many of the dynamic HTML5 websites or apps, they depend heavily on JavaScript, and we are going to get to that. We're going to build a game, we're going to build some other dynamic applications, but I just wanted to have a project that focuses on HTML and HTML5. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look. I have the finished product here. Alright, so we have our CSS, images, and JavaScript folder, and we're going to have three separate HTML documents. We're going to have the home page, which is going to be basically just a list of blog posts. We're going to have a single post. Alright, so that'll be just one article with a comment section. Alright, and the comment form isn't going to work because obviously you need some other technologies for that to work. And we'll have an add post form. Alright, so let's take a look at it. And this project is completely custom. I created the layout from scratch. It is a responsive layout as well. Alright, so basically I call it the Tech Edge. Alright, I made this little logo. Nothing really fancy, just a nice, simple, clean layout. Alright, so we have our logo here. We have our navigation menu over here, which will bring us to our three separate pages. We have the main blog area with what's going on here. This virtual machine has been acting up a little. There we go. Alright, so we have a title for our post. We have this metadata. We have the author, how many days ago it was posted, and then we're just showing the amount of comments that each post has. And then we have a main image here, which stretches across 100% of its container. We have the intro text here, and then a read more button, which will take us to the single post. Alright, and I just have two of these. Alright, so we have two posts. On the side over here we have a search box. Alright, so obviously this isn't going to work. You would need some kind of server-side language to have that function. And then we have this categories menu, which just has a list of categories, which is styled nicely. And then I just threw an ad in here just to kind of fill the page a little bit. And then at the bottom we have our footer, the copyright text, and then we have these three separate lists with just links to around the site. And these don't actually lead anywhere. Alright, so we can click on them, it'll just bring us to the top. Alright, so that's the index page. Now if we click on one of these posts, it's going to take us to the full post page. Let's actually go to the other one. Actually, they both go to the same page called single post HTML. Alright, so same deal. We have the title, the metadata, the image, and then we have the full text down here. And then at the bottom here you can see we have an area for comments. We have two comments. The comments have a avatar, the name of the user, and then their comment. And then at the bottom of that we have the comment form. Alright, which is styled nicely. Alright, so everything looks really clean. If we click on add a post, it's going to take us to this form, which takes a title, the category, and then the body, and you can also upload a file. But like I said, in order for this to actually function, you'd need to have some kind of server-side scripts, maybe PHP or something like that. Alright, so it's all about HTML5 and about the markup. Alright, so that's it. Pretty simple. So the first thing we want to do is create our file structure. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to that initializer website that we went to in the last chapter, and we're just going to kind of create a blank HTML5 template. So let's click on the classic version, and I'm going to take out, let's see, I'll take out this We'll keep the favicon. Let's get rid of this, this, this. We don't need any of these. Alright, and then up here we're going to leave everything as it is. Alright, so we'll download that. I'll just download it to my desktop. And we want to create a new folder. I'm actually going to change the name of this one here to finished, and then we can create another one. So this will be our working folder. Let's open up that initializer file, and I'm just going to transfer everything over. Alright, I thought I said not to include robots text, but it looks like it did, so I'm just going to get rid of that. We don't need that. And I guess we can keep that favicon. Alright, so we have CSS folder. Inside of that we have the normalize file, which is basically like a reset. I'm actually going to delete the minified version, and we'll just keep that regular version. Okay, main CSS, we'll keep that. Images is empty. JavaScript, this looks good, that's fine. Our main.js file, and then our index file. Alright, so if we open this up, obviously we're not going to see much. And I'm going to leave the finished version open just so we can use it as a reference point. Alright, so let's go to the index file. I'm going to open up Notepad++. Alright, and you can of course use whatever editor you want. In the Explorer over here to the left, I'm going to go to our working directory. So I want to go to users. It's on my desktop, so I want to go to users, Brad, desktop, and then HTML5 blog. Alright, so these are all our files we want to work with. So let's open up the index. Alright, and see what we got. Okay, we have our doc type, our head area. For a title, we'll just say HTML5 blog, and we'll put a little welcome message. So, alright, so this will make us this will identify the home page, the welcome page. Description, we don't need this. Alright, so style sheet, we got rid of the normalize.min.css, so we just want to use the regular normalize.css. Okay, main CSS is good. Modernizer, which is a program that can test for certain HTML5 features in the user's browser. So we'll keep that. One thing I want to do is I want to include our JavaScript in the head area. So we want to include jQuery right above here, right above the rest of our JavaScripts. So you can see here that they're using a CDN, alright, so they're linking to Google API's server to get jQuery, but I want to use it locally. So I'm going to get rid of that. And then this little text here, this tag, this script tag, I'm going to take out of this document.write function, and then get rid of that and paste it up here. Okay, so we just want to include our local version of jQuery. Alright, and then the main.js, I'm going to take it out of the bottom and put it as the last JavaScript file. What do we have? Oh, we have an extra slash here that we shouldn't. Get rid of that. Alright, so let's just comment this up a little bit. Okay, so we're going to include jQuery. Actually, no, that should be a... And then here we have Modernizer. And then we have our main JavaScript file. Alright, so that's good. We have our style sheets here. Let's just add in a comment. Can't type today. Include style sheets. Oh. Alright, so the next thing that we want to do is create, I guess, the shell. So the index page, the home page, will have the same shell as the other two pages, and that includes this header area, navigation, this main area, a sidebar, and a footer. Alright, so let's create all those. So I'm going to start with a header tag, alright, and I'm going to get rid of this paragraph here. Bring this up a little. Alright, so let's throw in a header tag, and I'm actually going to give this header an ID of main header, just in case you want to have some kind of other header, maybe an article header in the future, so it doesn't get so it's not confusing. Okay, and then in that header, what we're going to do is we're going to have a container class, and we're going to wrap that around anything that we want to be in this from here to here. Okay, so this entire wrapper, the container class is what's going to squish it together and keep it from spanning across the entire page. So, and that's going to be a class, because classes we can reuse. All right, IDs should be unique. All right, so basically we're only going to have one element that's going to have the ID of main header. However, we're going to have a few different containers depending on if we want the content to be restricted or not. So container, and when I'm using div tags, I just like to have a comment just so we know what ending div belongs to what. Alright, and then in here in the container we're going to have our logo area. So basically this area right here, and I'm going to call that branding. We'll call that the branding div. So div, there's only one of them, so we're going to use an ID. And we can put a comment in there as well. Make that lowercase. Alright. So in the branding, what we're going to do here is we're going to have our logo image, which is this red square with the TE, and then we're going to have an H1 tag, which is the text. Okay, so this is not one image, it's an image and an H1 tag. So what we need to do is grab the image and put it in our file structure. Okay, right now we have an empty image folder, so I'm going to go to the finished folder, and I'm going to bring over all of these. Actually, this ad isn't included in the project, so I'm going to delete that. But I'm going to bring the rest of these over. Alright, so I'm going to copy, paste those there, and now we can include the image. So we'll say image source is going to be in the images folder, and it's called logo.png. And then for the alternative tag, we'll just put in the tech edge. Alright, so there's our image. Let's check this out so far. Shouldn't be much. Alright, so basically we just have our image. Alright, so let's put in the text next to it. So right under that we can put in our H1 tag, and we can put the tech edge, H1, and that's it for the branding div. Alright, so next we want to have the navigation, and we want it to stay inside of the container. So right under the branding div, we'll create a new div. Actually, we won't create a div, we'll create a nav tag. Alright, so nav, and we're going to have the ID of main nav. because of course you may have a secondary or a third or fourth navigation item. So you want those to be unique. And in the main navigation, we'll have an unordered list, and then the menu items, which will be wrapped in li tags, and of course a link. Right now I'm just gonna set it to nothing. Alright, so let me just copy this. So the first one is going to say home. This will be single post. Actually, you know what? Maybe we just should add the links in here just to save ourselves the work later. So index HTML, single post.html, and this is going to be add post. Whoop. Okay, add post, and that's it for the navigation, and that's actually it for the header as well. So this is our entire header. Let's save it. We have no styling, so it's not going to look very well. Okay, so we have our image, we have the h1 tag, and then we have our unordered list, which is our navigation. Alright, so the next thing after with the header, we're going to do the sidebar. And the reason I want to do the sidebar before the main content is that this is responsive, and I should actually show you that. I didn't show you yet. So if we make this smaller, you can see that it changes. Alright, so about right here, around here would be the tablet view. You can see that the image is stretched across the whole way, and we have the main column and then the footer. But you can see I want this categories menu on top, alright? And if we put the sidebar after the main content in the document, it's going to be under it. Alright, so that's why we're going to do that first. Now we do have an issue if we make this really small with the menu, which most smartphones would probably be around here. So what we can do is later, if you want, we can make the text smaller so we can squish it in there. But there are other solutions you could use. You could use kind of a bootstrap solution where you have a button that shows up when the device has a small screen that you can click, and then the links will pop up. So there's a few different ways you can do it, or you could just get rid of that menu altogether if that works. Alright, so let's put in our sidebar. We want to do it right under the header, and we're going to use the A side tag. Alright, and I want to give this tag an ID just like we did with our other elements. So this will be sidebar. Alright, and then inside here, let's see, the first thing we have, I believe, is our search. Alright, so we're going to have a search form, so let's add that. And we're going to put a div around it as well, so we'll say div. I guess we could do, let's do class, because we may have other search forms. So we'll say class search, and search. Alright, and then in here we're going to have a form tag. Okay, and then in the form we're going to have just one input and type. For type, we're going to use a new HTML5 type, which is search, which just kind of treats it like a search box. I'm not exactly sure what the difference is from text, but I mean, it can't hurt to use it. Alright, and then a new attribute that comes along with HTML5 is placeholder. And I'm really glad that they did this, because before, if you wanted text to show up, for instance, in this box, you can say search our blog. We used to have to use JavaScript to do this, and it was actual text. So if, let's say, you go to a site and you leave it as is and you click search, it would search for the word, for the phrase search our blog, and we don't want that. We just want it to be blank, and you click on it and then you can actually replace the shadow text or whatever you want to call it with real text. Not only that, but it was just difficult to implement if you didn't know JavaScript. So I'm really glad that they made that placeholder attribute. Alright, so we're going to have this say search blog. Alright, and that looks good for the input. Now we want to have a search button, but I want it to be an image, that magnifying glass image. To do that, I'm going to say input type is going to be image instead of submit or button. And then source is going to be where the image is, which is img/search.png. Alright, and then we want an alt attribute just in case the image, the browser can't find the image, and that'll just say search. Okay, and that's it. That's it for our form. Alright, so under the search form, still in the sidebar, we want our category navigation, but first we want to clear this out because we're going to have the search button in the input field are going to be floated. So we want to clear that with the class of clearfix, which I believe comes with the HTML5 boilerplate framework. So that'll just clear out any floats we have. And then the next thing is going to be our sub navigation. So we're still going to use the nav, except it's going to have an ID of subnav. So this is why it's important to use IDs and classes even if you are using an HTML5, one of the new elements. Alright, because if we just use the nav element to style this, then the subnav and the main nav would be the same. And we don't want that. So the sub navigation is going to be vertical while the main navigation is horizontal. Alright, so in here, I'm just going to do a UL li, and we want our links. Alright, and then in here, let's take a look real quick at the site. So we have web development, design, cloud and hosting. Let me just copy this. Okay, so web development, design, SEO, and marketing. What else? Cloud and hosting, gadgets, cloud and hosting, gadgets, and software, it looks like. Okay, so there's our category navigation, and under that we're going to have just this add here just for show. So under the ending nav tag, we're going to create a div, and we'll give it a class of add. And then I'm just going to grab that image. So image src, I believe it's add.jpg. I don't know, we'll see in a minute. Okay, and then the alt, just say advertisement. Alright. So let's save that. Alright, so we have our, you can see that our search button is really big. The logo is also bigger, so we're going to use CSS to make these smaller. and then it looks like that image didn't show up, the add image, so I just want to check add JPEG. Isn't that what I put? Oh, we didn't put the image folder, so we want to do img/, and then that should work. Yep. Alright, so I believe that's it. Yeah, that's it for our sidebar. Now we want the main content here, and I'm going to put that inside of a section tag. So under the A side, I'm going to have section, and the section is going to have an ID of content, and this is our main content area. Alright. Oh, one thing that I'm noticing now that we forgot is we don't have our content, we don't have it in a container. We have a container in the header that is going to make everything push to the middle, but we don't have it in the main under the header. So right under the header, we're going to put in that div class container, and that's going to end, we'll just put it under the section for now. So div, and then we'll put a comment just so we know what it is. Alright, so now inside a section, this is basically going to have a row of blog posts. So each post will be surrounded inside of an article tag. Okay, so in the article we're going to have a header, and I'm going to give this, actually, you know what, I'm not going to give it a class or an ID because we're not going to be styling it, alright, directly. Alright, so in the header we'll have our H2, okay, H2, and we'll also have the meta info, which will have a div with the class of meta. And I'm just going to paste in the title of the first article. Alright, and for the meta info, we're going to say posted by, and then some strong tags, and then the name of the author. And we're going to say 1 day ago. Actually, we'll span the strong, we'll bring the ending strong tag here. And then what we're going to do is I want the number of comments, and I'm going to put that inside of a span tag. Okay, so we'll just say, we'll use the parentheses and say 2 comments. Okay, so that's it for the article header. Next, we want the main image, so we'll say image src is, I think it's, what is it? I think it's blog 1. Alright, so alt, we'll just say post 1. So that's the image. Next we want the main content, which will just throw in a couple paragraphs here. Actually, I'm just going to paste in the content. 1 second. Alright, so we just have basically one paragraph, because it's going to be looked at as the intro text. Alright, and then finally we just want to have a footer. We want the article footer. And all that's going to have in it is a read more link. So I'm just going to paste that in. Alright, so this is basically just going to point to the single post page that we create later. Alright, so that looks good. We're going to have two articles, so let's copy what we just did. Okay, and then we just want to paste that in again, and I'm just going to copy and paste the content from the second article. So we have the title. Okay, let me grab the paragraph. One second. Alright. Whoop, I put 2 paragraph tags. Alright, so that's good. So I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's it for the entire section. So now what I want to do is I want to clear the floats again. So I'm going to just, where is it? Where's the clear fix? I'll just retype it. Alright, so under section we're going to have our clear fix div. So div class clear fix. Okay. The footer I'm going to just paste in because we're running out of time here, but it's going to go after the container because it's going to have its own container. So let me just paste this in, and I'll go over it. We have our footer tag, which is going to have the footer ID. I'm sorry, the ID of main footer. And then inside there we want a container because we want to restrict it to the middle. We're going to have a footer right div. Alright, and if we look at the project, this is going to be the footer left div right here with the copyright, and then this is the footer right div with all the unordered lists, which you can see here. Alright, and all of these actually are in a nav tag, and they all have the class of footer nav, because they're all basically styled the same. Alright, so and then down here we have our footer left, which has the copyright. So that's pretty much it for our home page. Let's go ahead and save that. Now we haven't applied any CSS at all, so it's going to look horrible. Okay, so that's expected. You just want to make sure that every element is here. Alright, so you have the logo, the navigation, the search bar, the secondary navigation, the add image, and then the posts, which have a title, meta info, main image, intro text, read more link, and then down here we have our footer. Alright, so that's basically our shell. When we create our other 2 pages, we're basically going to just use this and take out the main content and replace that. So in the next video we'll be doing that, and we'll be adding our CSS as well.